giving yourself space to allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself to say, why not? Why not me?
And then pinpointing the blame externally rather than sometimes looking towards ourselves inward and asking ourselves, but how am I enabling this cycle? Hi there. Welcome to Unspeakable Leadership, a space that transcends time, borders, and barriers to reclaim our stories as women of color, leading in organizations, communities, and in our own lives. I'm your host, Rohene Bouajram. With a 20-year career trajectory of leadership, an aspiring storyteller, mom of a son and a fur baby, first-generation immigrant, and uninvited guest in Canada, I want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Let us grow together in conversation. I have been so incredibly excited to have this conversation with this particular guest. Now, let me first tell you a little bit about them. With a background in economics and years spent in a diverse mix of corporate and entrepreneurial spaces, Nicole Allyson reached a professional turning point where the cost of living small and fitting in became too high. Over 2 years ago, with her family's unconditional support, she made a bold choice to pivot once more, taking a chance on flexibility, passion, freedom, and belonging, and hasn't looked back. Today, Nicole is a certified life coach dedicated to helping midlife women navigate their own metamorphosis. From recovering people pleaser to resilient solopreneur, she blends Canadian Caribbean roots with deep curiosity, cultural compassion, and a healthy dose of humor. Launching NALC Services Incorporated, Nicole Allyson, life coach, fosters a safe and inclusive space for women to rediscover their purpose, redefine their relationships, and step boldly into their full power through her carefully curated one on one and online group coaching workshops. Nicole truly believes that mindset is a superpower, a daily choice that determines how we think, how we feel, and how we move throughout the world. She believed she could, so she did. Nicole, thank you so much for being here with us on season 5 of Unspeakable Leadership.
Thank you so much, Roheen. That was beautiful. I'm so excited to sit here with you today, and that was a beautiful introduction. I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I have to say, every time that I read somebody's bio, I'm I'm in awe, and I just find myself just in just so much gratitude because I know that behind that bio is not only years of experience, but it's also years of making such intentional choices in defining and becoming the woman that you are. And even your bio speaks to some of those choices. So I just want to hold with honor the witnessing that we can do for each other in really saying, I see you, I absolutely adore you, and I absolutely honor you. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you again.
Absolutely. So, Nicole, I know we're going to talk a lot, and I know you bring such a beautiful way of thinking of life and thinking of metaphors at the same time. And I would love for you to help us understand, what was your leadership journey in coming to being the woman that you are today?
Well, it's a wonderful question, and it's so wide, and it takes me back to the journey. You start remembering all sorts of different things and thinking, "Wow, this did all culminate in who you are today." So I think where I would start was I grew up in Montreal. I was born and raised in Montreal to Caribbean parents, so I'm a first generation Canadian. That alone brought with it lots of different challenges and gifts as well that you realize along the way. Growing up, firstborn, so you take your leadership role, I believe, there to my younger sister. I think my leadership journey, I would say, began probably in elementary and high school. Always perhaps taking a look at what was and wondering what could be. If something didn't exist, I didn't mind perhaps tweaking it to suit what the needs were at the time. I remember a young child in gymnastics and bringing that home to my neighborhood and teaching the kids. I had a little script and a pad and choreography for all the kids to learn what I had learned in my gymnastic classes. To even my first job at McDonald's and trying to carve out a situationship where I could perhaps do a little bit more to the hostess responsibilities. And I think it just grew from there. Leadership grows, I think, from just the intrinsic wondering and curiosity of what next or why. And then also trying to niche out a way to kind of stand out, to find your ways for your gifts to shine.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that you raise this vibration in leadership of it coming out from this deeper desire to really investigate our life and investigate why things happen and why they come to be, and then to find space to perhaps offer the gift of your skills, the gift of who you are, and to know that that place that you hold is so deeply sacred and critical, and we actually share a similar one of the similar parallels, which is I also worked at McDonald's when I immigrated from Zimbabwe to Canada, and it's a job that actually I hold very dear to my heart in my leadership journey of not only providing me with income, but also supporting me to be able to go to university. And so I love that you named that, because I think many of us we might kind of feel the desire to only name the top brands or the big names, and yet what makes us who we are what also shapes what we become to understand of ourselves. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh yes, and I so agree with that. I so agree with that, Rohini. A
Yeah.
lot of times, as that resume grows,
Yes.
it's almost as if just the top three, didn't make any sense. But really, what brought you to
Yeah.
the top three was were those seedlings, right? Those seedlings of
Yes.
belonging, of what community, what leadership looks like, how you fit in, where your talents are, and a lot of times that starts, where the resume cuts off after a certain age.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that you brought the resume, because it's so true. Where the best practice is only within the last 10 years, and yet there's an entire moments of chapters that shape exactly what happened in those last 10
Hmm.
years. So Nicole, I know we're talking about the theme of she built her own arena, and I know as part of the work that you do and the incredible coaching that you bring, particularly to midlife women, you one thing that struck me in our initial conversation was you brought up this beautiful concept of dreams, and that many of us are sitting with dreams in our heart, with visualizations in our mind, and yet we're not living those dreams. And so I often think that big dreams force us to confront the limits that we've unconsciously accepted about ourselves. So I'd love to hear from you, as somebody who does incredible coaching in this area. What do we need to shift within our mindset to help us think beyond once what we once felt was unrealistic?
That's a great question. You've got many great questions today, um, as you always do, Raheen. I think it's funny. There's a culmination of things that shift, and I think we use that word so often. And in coaching, I use it myself, and we're looking for this thing, this feeling, this stars in alignment, and what needs to shift, what needs to happen, and it almost seems cosmic or romantic even, in some sense. And I think the shift is really just coming back to ourselves. It's just really a stillness. It's not actually what we're looking for. It's not necessarily for everyone a lightning bolt or some specific thing that triggers us. But it's that, like we said, that inner voice, that calling, that little bit of needling, right? Of
Yeah.
something that's still tapping, and we just don't either take the time or we're just not present enough to hear it. So I think the shift is inward. I don't believe it's necessarily outward. I think sometimes outward helps, right? A little discomfort
Right.
sometimes helps. A little
Yeah.
even looking at somebody else doing something, and it triggers something within us. But I think the shift is really inward. It's the
Mm-hmm.
actual putting ourselves as a priority, and not necessarily in terms of things that we do every day and our task list, but the priority in terms of the voice that we have, that dream that we have,
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit of space to find that person inside again, right? And to ask them a little more, some more questions, and be curious, right? A lot
Yeah.
of times that quiet is filled with something else, and I think it's because we're
Mm.
just so used to, especially women, and the longer we are women, and the more people that
Yes.
come on that list a little bit before us, or where we choose to put them, um, that voice becomes quieter and quieter. And I think it's giving yourself space to
Yeah.
allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to say, why not? Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not me? Or what if?
Yeah.
And not only that, I think the second fold to that is, a lot of times we put the dream as something too altruistic or too huge. And
Mm-hmm.
when we're looking at the thing itself, I have lots of people come to me with coaching, and they'll have a thing like, I want such and such a career, or I want so much money, or I want love. Or,
Right.
but sometimes if you just go two layers deep, there's a
Mm-hmm.
feeling. And I think once you connect the dream to the feeling you're looking for, it feels a lot
Mm-hmm.
more tangible. If you can imagine, even though it's not a tangible thing, the feeling is something you can connect to. Because a lot of times it may not be a job, it might be respect. It may not be
Yes.
money, it might be freedom. And there's
Yeah.
so many other ways that we can get these things as well. So just being curious, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I really want to uplift something that you said around the feeling part. Is I know for myself, I've gone through multiple layers and processes of reinvention, and some of these things I can truly say were dreams at one point, and were visualizations that I took the time to really write out and define. And I'm so glad you mentioned feelings as part of the basis and the foundation, because in the beginning for me, I was very much attached to the materialistic aspects of the dream. So I used to write, I want to become the director, I want to become, I want to work in this company. And that was great, and it manifested, and I was very grateful for it. What I hadn't yet really defined for myself was, how did I want to feel?
Hmm.
And I truly believe that's what also contributed to my burnout cycles, because I didn't actually articulate the feeling of peacefulness
Hmm.
that I rightfully not only deserve but certainly wanted.
Yes.
And so when you bring back for us that important question of, how do you want to feel, I do believe it helps those who are listening and those who are watching starting to really define, what is that big dream?
Hmm.
What is the thing that they want beyond the surface and beyond the materialistic things, which will inevitably come. However, what is probably going to be most sacred is going to be the actual outcome of who you want to become as a result. So I just wanted to honor that. And I guess my second question is, as people think about this idea of the arena, and the arena has different shapes and different sizes and different
Yeah.
definitions. And what I'm going to name today in terms of the definition of that is, admiring the possibility as one kind of end, and then the other part is like deciding that you're ready for it, right? So in that tension of, I'm admiring this possibility of the big dream, and then the tension of, I'm deciding that I'm ready for it, what helps you move from dreaming to the building and moving into that action?
So, oh, there's so much to take from that.
I
I
know.
think I'll start with language. I love language. I think words do matter, even though we're living in a time where a lot of times we're being told, don't listen. It's okay if you're not hearing what you heard. I think words really matter. And there's simple little reframing and restructuring of how we're speaking to ourselves. And like I said, as a mindset coach, a lot of the work that I do with my clients, and this is just how I work, and people that gravitate to my work, we work with not necessarily, like I said, externals, because really it's almost like when my children were young, I never said, have a good day, because, or, sometimes you can't control what's coming at you. What I would say is make good choices before they left the house. And that you can control. You can't control the choices that you make, hopefully, most of the time. So I believe what it is in terms of language, getting back to language, simple shifts. I'll give you one, for example, that I use every day with myself. One of the things that I really wanted was I wanted to walk. That was one of the small dreams, right? I wanted to be one of those people that I see they're out there, rain or shine. I don't have a dog, so somehow I got to get out there without one. I remember I used to say, I want to walk. So that was the small, and we're just doing small goals here. I want to walk, but it's raining. Or I want to walk, but the kids are late for school. And just changing that word of but to and really made such a
Mm,
difference. The
yeah,
language of but stops you. It gives the
that's true.
perfect place where I know the stop signs are, and that'll allow me to procrastinate and put it off. It's all in that word, but.
Yeah,
When I changed it to and, it empowered me. It said, I know it's raining. I
right.
know they're late. So you're going to walk, and the kids are
And
late for school, and it's raining. And right
yeah.
away, the shift is, how am I going to figure this out? The
Mm,
answers are within you, the same way the no-go zones are within you. You
yeah,
can create and build the most perfect scenario for yourself because you know exactly the ingredients, the recipe it needs for you
yeah,
to move yourself forward, as do you
yeah.
know the perfect jail and cage to put yourself in to
Oh gosh.
decide. And that's a wonderful
So
thing in itself if you're curious enough, because
yeah,
that means you always hold the key. You always hold the
yeah.
words, you always hold the reframe, and you always hold the power to decide
Mm,
what will you do next.
yeah. And you're. Can I just say you're dishing out, which I appreciate, some really powerful truths, right? Because I want to name something, and I know that this is going to be a little slightly controversial, so I'll receive whatever comes through. Um, there are a number of systems that are against us as women, and specifically as women of color, and the barriers and the stereotypes and all of the pieces that can cage us in are absolutely 100% there, and they're valid, and they happen. And we can also hold ourselves back, and we can also stop ourselves from going for the thing, from dreaming big, from asking for more, etc. And so I say that because I do believe sometimes we, in conversations like these that happen, sometimes in the podcast, but also sometimes outside in society, the the attractiveness to only focus on the systems becomes sometimes our own cage, and it gives us some level of comfort that we're not progressing because of the systems. And that's true. And at the same time, we're not always progressing because sometimes we're keeping ourselves still caged and still holding ourselves back. And I say that with so much compassion and so much love and so much kindness, not just for my fellow sisters and my fellow women of color, but even for myself, because there have been times when I have caught myself telling myself that, how dare I? And as you shared earlier, why not you? And so when we don't shift our language, we end up finding ourselves still in the same place, and then pinpointing the blame externally rather than sometimes looking towards ourselves inward and asking ourselves, but how am I enabling this cycle? Any thoughts and pushbacks? Like, you can disagree with me. You are absolutely
I have to say, there's no pushback here. As a woman of color, we
yeah.
speak in these arenas. We speak
Hmm.
outside of these arenas. Sometimes we choose not to speak in
Yeah.
any arena at
Yes.
all, from
Yeah.
fatigue, from fear, from a host of
So
different perspectives. And
yeah.
and like you said, we have to come to this with compassion, knowing that there are truths in this. We've
Yeah.
from from my experience, this is something that we could see as a speed bump or challenge, or even sometimes more directly, and aggression. Never mind the micros, right? That are flown. And I guess it's, again, like you said, wondering whether or not sometimes we're part of the system. And if you want to count yourself as part of the collective, you are part of the system, even parts of the system that don't necessarily value or honor you at all times. However, as part of that system, you don't have to join, this side that they
The
are
system.
against you, right?
Yeah,
And as you said,
exactly.
language, mindset, thoughts, is if this is what you're surrounding yourself with,
Yeah.
this is where self-awareness comes in, right? How much of this am I taking on? How much of this am I
Mm,
perceiving? How much of this is coming from fear of what hasn't happened? Am I catastrophizing? Am I not catastrophizing? Is this actually happening, right? But am I going
yeah.
to contribute to that, or am I going to find a way to either work
Yeah.
through it or work with it, right? But definitely,
Right.
I'm going to be on the side of me, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
advocate for me, and I'm going to know my worth because I do fill my cup, because I know
Yeah.
who I am. And in a lot of spaces, I'm not sure about you, Raheen. I suspect
Mhm.
so, just from our encounters and our discussions. But I see it, it's funny, a lot of times where people might see it as a disadvantage. And being Canadian born, I'll have to say to you, sometimes you do have that extra surprise element for people. I mean, a lot of times things are on Zoom now, but there's a lot of times I'll be on the
Yeah.
phone, um,
Yeah.
and someone hears my name, and there's no indication of
Right.
anything that's coming at them, and I can see the surprise, right, in
Yeah.
the virtual,
Yeah.
or when the Zoom lights come on.
Yeah.
I consider it, and this is years of work. I'm midlife,
Yeah.
remember,
Hmm.
where I see it as a superpower now. I see it as a cape.
Yes.
I don't walk into any space assuming that I will be surrounded with something that, or something, or some environment that looks exactly like me, and I'm okay with that. I come in there knowing that. I come in there
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised if I see something similar. Whereas I have had colleagues and friends and whatnot who I feel, if in the one instance where they may be the
Hmm.
only, the
Hmm.
panic, the fear, the preparation, the talking out of the tree starts to happen, and I think, wow, wherever I go, there I am, and I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. Not only am I okay, I love that. I love the fact that I am going to walk in as me,
Yeah.
maybe as a younger person, tentatively
Yeah.
and somewhat cautious, but I walk in now, unapologetically me, and that's from the time I wake up to the time I walk into any room, because I've had
Yeah.
practice there, and my
Yeah.
mind, my mind embraces me when I come in the room,
Hmm.
regardless of what happens.
And that, can I just say, Nicole, I'm not there
Mhm.
yet. I'll say that. And so it's beautiful to be able to hear other women like yourself saying, after years of experience and years of practice, here's where I'm at. Because I believe that the more that we can see ourselves in each other, and to see ourselves in different journeys, is the kind of sisterhood that many of us need, and we crave, and we desire, and we deserve. And what I also love of what you said is that your mindset has shifted. It's no longer a case of you go into a space and you're going through, the continuous mental gymnastics, right? Of, okay, code switching. Must I think about, must I say these things? like, and I could name
Is
all,
my
like, all
hair
of these
okay?
things.
Will this be
Yeah, is my
accepted?
hair okay? Yeah, will this be accepted? Like, should I have worn this? Like, all of those questions, which are absolutely exhausting. You're not giving that level of mental gymnastic your energy, and you're certainly not channeling any of your attention in that way. And that in itself is such a beautiful redirection that you've chosen for yourself. And now you have all of this energy and all of this attention to really put towards somewhere else and something else that gives you much more joy, probably gives you much more reciprocity and return of your, or, your investment of your energy. And that, to me, is such another beautiful definition of the arena, right? That our minds can be cleared of all of the jargon, all of the language, all of the clutter, really all of the shit that has been put on us, and that we can use our mind for what our mind was created for, which was brilliance and intelligence and creativity and everything else in that realm of who we truly are. And so, from one moment to another, I want to say thank you, because it gives me hope and it gives me excitement and possibility to say, I want to be as just as badass and as confident as Nicole. So when I go into those spaces, I'm not doing the mental gymnastics.
Right.
I'm not doing the math equations. I'm just gonna go in there, say my piece, offer it, and those who receive it either receive it or they don't. Hi there. I just had to pop in to let you know something. I have a gift for you. Leadership can sometimes feel lonely and complex. So check out the resource page on my website and download your free leadership journal or strategic planning guide. I always welcome feedback. So let me know how they support you. Enjoy.
Exactly, Rohene. And like I said, it is a journey, and and there's something to be said about when we say the work. There is work to be
Yes.
done, but that mental
Yeah.
gymnastics, like you just said, look at the beauty that you're creating here in these spaces, right? For this conversation and to share, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Look at how much energy you can put into things like this, right?
I,
Because once you know
it's a,
that you're not fitting in, you know wherever you are, you belong.
yeah.
There's no need for
Yeah.
all of this other stuff. I belong because I belong here. I belong before I
Yes.
met you, right?
Oh,
Yes.
Nicole, my heart here is like beating. Like, I've got goosebumps underneath this. We were just laughing and saying how both of us were wearing like
Our
very like silky,
shimmers.
soft shimmers, and I'm like, I love it. I love it when the universe is like sending out little
Hmm.
messages and
Yes.
connections. And so I have two last
Hmm.
questions. The first one is, no doubt you are a woman of vision and a woman of conviction. And so I'd love to know, in your journey of expanding your vision and your conviction, what, if anything, has surprised you about doing this?
Oh, wow. I guess what surprises you, and even though we speak of vision, we think, and thank you so much. You just continue to give flowers, and I just keep thinking, I hope I'm giving back because I'm getting
Oh,
so
you
much
are.
out of
You.
this as well, and so much out of
Oh,
the space that you hold so beautifully, Rohini.
thank you.
I think what it is, and I think in terms of being curious and asking why not, right? Or what are the
Yeah.
chances? You just
Yeah.
start realizing. I think for such a long time we touched on this that we think there's
Mhm.
limits and boundaries and ceilings and even arenas, right? We think of
Mhm.
an enclosed
Yeah.
or a space that's confined and defined. But just realizing that life is not pie. I think I used to go
Yes.
around so long in my younger days thinking, well, if this one has it, then there's not enough for me, and if this happens,
Yeah.
there's not. But life isn't pie. There's as much love and honesty and
Yeah.
trust and all the things that you want as you create in
Yeah.
your own world, right? There is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. That's why I love the coaching space. I love these spaces where, especially for myself, women and women of color, moreover,
Yeah.
have a place where they don't feel like there has to be only one. There's only room for this. There's
Mm.
room for as much as your heart can expand too.
Absolutely.
and just knowing that there is no limit. The limit is where you call. And there are some days, right, where you just want to
Yeah.
pause, just want to restore, just want to reset, and that's fine too. But whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you're going for, whatever it is that your heart dreams about, go for it. This
Yeah.
isn't your practice life. This is it. You're living it, right?
Oh, I love it. I can I just say, Nicole, this isn't your practice life. You're living it, which is what you just said. It helps, it really helps for me remember that the the mental cages that we can sometimes find ourselves in are, yes, dictated by the limitations and the scarcity that maybe we might have experienced, we might have gone through, and they created the boundaries and the edges and the walls that that for some moment in time were there to protect us, and they served a purpose. And at the same time, there are moments in our life when those no longer serve the purpose. And so to be able to break them down and to break through them, and to be able to see that you don't have to then just go up against another wall, but actually you can completely deconstruct and reconstruct an entire different reality. That to me is the gift that you have given us. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the message that you've offered today. And as we close out, we have a range of listeners. We have many who I'm just so grateful will come up to me and say, I'm just starting my leadership journey.
Mm.
I'm listening to Unspeakable Leadership, and there's some things that make sense, and there's something that haven't happened to me, and I'm always like, that's okay. I hope it doesn't happen to you, especially if it's not good. If it's good, I hope it does. And then we also have listeners and viewers who are well into their leadership journey and who are going through those moments and pivots that you've gone through as part of what we've shared in your introduction. My question to you is, what would you say to somebody who is ready to define their own arena?
Okay, well, and like you said, I thank you too for this time has been wonderful, Rohene. Um, what would I say? There's so much that I would say. There's so much that I would, just feel because it's an exciting time. It's also can be, a little bit daunting as well. But I think what I would say is basically what you said kind of in the intro, right? Like she believed she could, so she did. And it's not a feeling necessarily of this has to happen. As I keep saying that the stars do not have to be in alignment. You don't have to wait for Prince or Princess Charming, right? What has to be in alignment is you. So take good care of you. You've received this person at the beginning of this whole journey to take care of. Take care of that person, believe in that person, and you won't believe what she could do.
Honestly, can I just say, just I'm sitting here and I could listen to you every day, because like I think you should like create some affirmation messages, and then we could just listen to Nicole
Just Nicole
Allison, like,
Allison on a reel.
yeah, yeah, on repeat. Like I feel
I
like
don't know if my
I'm
husband
just
agrees
saying,
with you, Raheem, but we'll see what we can
oh,
do.
I mean, that's only
You
one person's
know,
viewpoint.
I
It's,
should say he's a sweetheart. Yeah.
I know, I know. Nicole, thank you for your time. And honestly, thank you for the gift of your wisdom and also the gift of your experience, which you've shared just so generously today. I really appreciate you spending time with us, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Many of our guests often want to connect with our guests, and also our listeners and viewers want to connect with our guests at the same time. If we will put socials and all of your information, is there one thing that you would like our listeners and viewers to take you up on?
Yeah, sure. I would love to connect. Like I said, I love even if it's just a chat. I love to hear people's stories. It's where we receive, right? It's where I fill my cup anyway, right? So yes, I'm on all the social medias except for TikTok, uh, to my daughter's chagrin. But you can find me at
That's fair.
Nicole Allison Life Coach,
Amazing.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Check out the website and sign up for a little chat. I'd love to hear from anyone in this audience. And I thank you again, Raheem. This has just been
Thank you.
nothing less than a pleasure.
Oh, Thank you, Nicole. Likewise, the feeling is mutual. Take care, and thank you so much. If this episode spoke to something you have been quietly carrying, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Unspeakable Leadership and join thousands of listeners and viewers around the world who are redefining leadership on their own terms. Every week of each season, we unpack conversations most people avoid: power, identity, reinvention, grief, ambition, courage, the cost of shrinking, and the freedom of becoming. This podcast isn't surface level. It's honest, it's layered, it's the kind of conversation that stays with you long after the episode ends. So I'm going to ask you for a favor. Subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, or share the episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Because every share helps the stories that you hear reach the people who have been searching for the language, the clarity, and the right nudge to lead differently. And if an episode has moved you, tell me. I always love hearing from you.